The final boss has been watching Roman Reigns bleed for 6 weeks, and the most terrifying visit in Bloodline history is coming before Clash in Italy. Roman Reigns is bleeding. Literally. A white towel pressed against his left elbow by a WWE official in Knoxville, Tennessee after Jacob Fatu's running hip attack through the barricade drew real blood from the World Heavyweight Champion on Raw May 11th. 6 consecutive weeks of Tongan death grips. 2 tables destroyed with Roman's body. The entire first family crashed through a barricade simultaneously. An exposed turnbuckle needed to retain at Backlash. And heading into Clash in Italy on May 31st in Turin, Roman Reigns is injured, isolated, and fighting a war against a man he cannot stop with chairs or spears or ceremonies or any of the weapons in his considerable arsenal. And somewhere right now watching all of it unfold from a distance with those cold, calculating final boss eyes is Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, the man who gave Roman Reigns the Ula Fala, the man who stood in that ring at WrestleMania 40 and cemented the most important alliance in Bloodline history. The man who has been conspicuously absent from every single moment of Jacob Fatu's 6-week destruction of his cousin. And here is the question that should be keeping Jacob Fatu awake every single night before Turin. The Rock did not give Roman Reigns the Ula Fala as a congratulatory gesture. He gave it as a declaration, a statement of bloodline sovereignty, a transfer of power from one generation's most dominant force to the next. And when the man who received that Ula Fala is getting powerbombed through announce tables and leaving arenas with towels pressed against bleeding elbows, the man who gave it does not stay away forever. The final boss is coming, and Jacob Fatu's death warrant is already written. He just does not know who signed it yet. To understand why The Rock's arrival in this story is not just possible but inevitable, you need to understand the full weight of what happened when he placed the Ula Fala around Roman Reigns' neck. The Rock gave Roman Reigns the Ula Fala following his win over Solo Sikoa in Tribal Combat, a moment that represented the final boss, acknowledging Roman as the true leader of the Bloodline dynasty going forward. YouTube, https://www.youtube.com/watch?v=UXWEPGWVSI0. The Ula Fala is not a prop. It is not a wrestling costume piece. In Samoan and Polynesian culture, the Ula Fala is a sacred lei made from pandanus leaves worn by chiefs and warriors of the highest rank. When The Rock placed it around Roman Reigns' neck, he was not playing a character. He was performing a genuine cultural ritual of succession. He was saying, this man carries the bloodline forward. This man has my blessing. This man represents everything the Anoa'i family has built across 3 generations of professional wrestling. And Jacob Fatu, a man who has now held that Ula Fala recipient's World Heavyweight Championship over his fallen body, who has drawn his blood, who has crashed him through tables and barricades for 6 consecutive weeks, has not just challenged Roman Reigns. He has challenged the succession that The Rock himself sanctioned. And the final boss does not allow his endorsements to be publicly dismantled without response. That is not who Dwayne Johnson is. And that is not who The Rock is. Here is the blueprint for the most terrifying segment WWE can produce before Clash in Italy. Roman Reigns is backstage in his locker room or a private corridor dealing with the aftermath of another Jacob Fatu assault. The Usos are there. The atmosphere is tense. Roman is processing the accumulated damage of 6 weeks of warfare against a man who cannot be psychologically broken or physically stopped. And there is a knock on the door. And when that door opens, when the most electrifying man in sports entertainment history fills the doorframe in street clothes, no entrance music, no pyro, just The Rock in a corridor with those eyes that have been watching this entire situation from a distance, the entire temperature of the storyline changes permanently. The Rock and Roman Reigns teamed together at WrestleMania 40, and despite their interactions since, including The Rock giving Roman the Ula Fala following his win over Solo Sikoa in Tribal Combat, it has seemed like the two cousins have had different agendas over the past 2 years. TPWW, https://www.tpwww.tpww.net/2026/04/WWE-Ross-Fix-House-Rollins-Kix-Fatu-026-Seth-Fife-Roman-Reigns-Kix-Fatu-7-High-Show-Hyphen different agendas. 2 men from the same bloodline, both operating at the highest level of this business, both carrying the Anoa'i family legacy in different directions. And the moment The Rock walks through Roman's locker room door in Italy, the moment he looks at his cousin's injured elbow and the tired eyes of the Usos and the general devastation that Jacob Fatu has inflicted on the first family, is the moment those different agendas align. Because The Rock does not allow the family to lose. He never has. And Jacob Fatu's 6-week destruction of the Ula Fala recipient is the trigger that brings the final boss back. The most chilling part of The Rock's involvement in this story is not what he says to Roman Reigns. It is what he says to Jacob Fatu. Because The Rock as the final boss does not make emotional speeches or family reconciliation gestures. He delivers verdicts. He issues sentences. And the sentence he would deliver to Jacob Fatu, a man who came from the same Polynesian warrior culture The Rock has spent his entire public life honoring, a man who invoked family legacy as the moral foundation of his war, a man who has been culturally righteous in his grievance even as he has been physically uncontrollable in his expression of it, would be the most layered, most psychologically complex confrontation the Bloodline saga has ever produced. The Bloodline Civil War has been one of WWE's most durable creative properties, and the arrival of The Rock at a pivotal moment represents exactly the kind of break-glass emergency that Triple H's creative team has been building towards since Roman reclaimed the championship at WrestleMania 42. YouTube, https://www.youtube.com/watch?v=UXWEPGWVSI0. The Rock looks at Jacob Fatu and does not dismiss him, does not call him undeserving, does not say he does not belong, because The Rock knows the Anoa'i family story too well to insult it that way. Instead, The Rock delivers the warning that carries the full weight of his cultural authority, his generational standing, and his final boss persona simultaneously. He tells Jacob Fatu that the Ula Fala was given, and it will not be taken. And whoever stands in the way of that, regardless of blood, regardless of grievance, regardless of how righteous the cause, will face the final boss before they face Roman Reigns again. Roman Reigns is not planned for any WWE dates in June, including Night of Champions, but will be back in the fold for SummerSlam at the start of August. Cageside seats, https://www.cageside-seats.com/wwe/43777/wwe-backlash-20226-Seth-Raw-match-video-promo. The timeline is everything. Clash in Italy on May 31st is Roman Reigns' last scheduled appearance before a significant absence, which means Turin is not just a rematch. It is the final chapter of this specific war before the summer reshapes everything. And if The Rock appears in Turin, if the final boss makes his presence known in Italy in the most dramatic fashion possible, Jacob Fatu's death warrant is not signed with a pen. It is signed with the people's eyebrow raised in a foreign arena in front of a crowd that has never witnessed the final boss in person. The Rock does not need to interfere in the match. He does not need to cost Fatu the championship. He simply needs to be there, visible, watching, reminding Jacob Fatu that the man he has been destroying for 6 weeks is not just the world heavyweight champion. He is the man the final boss chose. And the final boss collecting on debts is the most dangerous thing in professional wrestling. Roman Reigns left Knoxville with blood on his elbow and a towel held against the wound by a WWE official. The Usos went through a barricade alongside their champion for the 6th consecutive week. The First Family has been systematically dismantled by one man with all gas and no brakes. And The Rock, the man who gave the Ula Fala, who sanctioned Roman's bloodline succession, who stood at WrestleMania 40 and cemented the family dynasty with one of the most culturally significant gestures in wrestling history, has been absent for every single moment of it. That absence ends in Italy. Because the final boss does not let the family bleed indefinitely without showing up to remind everyone exactly what the family means. Drop your prediction in the comments right now. Does The Rock appear at Clash in Italy? Does his presence cost Jacob Fatu the rematch? And does the final boss align fully with Roman, or does he issue a warning to both men that the family needs to resolve this internally? Share this video with every wrestling fan you know. We are Wrestling News CC. The final boss has been watching, and Jacob Fatu's death warrant is already written. He just has not been served yet.